Yeah.
Welcome.
Our next guest, Kealoha. I thought it would be perfect to have the whitest sounding introduction music in the history of introduction music. Ladies and gentlemen, come on, give it up for Kealoha. No, not this. No, that applause. It's insulting our guests to make laugh. No, that's the laughs. There. I love it.
I was not ready for that.
Playing with these little buttons. They're like preset sounds on this thing. It's so funny.
For another episode of Rated HR, we have, of course, the lovely Tina. Come on, give yourself some applause. There we go. Yes, my name is Hawaiian Brian. I do a little radio show on the Sam and Ryan Show at 93.9 The Beat, and then we do this podcast once a week. And our guest today, very special guest, folks. You guys know him as the one and only ever appointed Poet Laureate of the state of Hawaii. We are talking nuclear engineer graduate from M.I.T. We talking the dude who started Hawaii Slam, and he basically led the revolution on slam poetry in Hawaii, takes a team onto the mainland and competes. This guy is revolutionizing science and the arts, math, poetry, dancing, capoeira, you name it. This is the dude. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Kealoha Wong! I'm a little biased.
That was way biased.
I didn't.
I'm gonna decline a few of those. But you know.
But it's all there. You can actually look it up on Wikipedia. It's more impressive than I can memorize here. But I wanted to invite you on because, especially recently, you just did a poem. And what is it? What is the title? I know what the subject is, obviously, but what's the title of it?
I'm not quite sure. Like right now, I'm kind of putting it as like a poem from Mauna Kea.
Okay, yeah, nice.
But you know, it could be a couple other things. I'm not sure.
Right.
It's still in progress.
Nice. But so you just did it for the first time at First Thursdays?
Yeah. This past maybe about 3 weeks ago. Okay. Performed it live. Right. I had just finished it that day. So it was kind of like one of those pieces that was just churning, and then the time to, for the show was coming.
Right.
And I was just like, well, let's get it out, let's get it down. And I just worked on it for a few hours, pressed print.
Right.
And then boom, we're on stage.
So we're gonna listen to it in a little bit and then just like break it down, because this is my favorite thing about like doing a podcast like this is like, you can do a longer format piece in a world of scrolling and, 7 seconds, whatever it is, right? It's like so quick. It's kind of fun to just, if you would like to take this like journey, it's here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're here for you.
And so like, just give us a quick like
WTF is TMT.
Yes.
WTF is TMT. I like that. Yeah, for sure. So you want the
just to give us
setup,
yeah, the introductory, and then so where we are in the actual issue, okay, and then kind of what inspired you to do the poem and stuff.
So there's this telescope, the 30-meter telescope. Oh, well, first of all, how about this? There's this mountain,
right,
Mauna Kea,
right.
It's on the Hawaii Island, otherwise known as the Big Island.
That's right.
And Mauna Kea is a bunch of things to many people, but first and foremost, it's a sacred mountain. Right. It's a watershed. Which means that it feeds the water of the towns below it. So the rain, and then it collects, and then the water goes down.
Nice.
And it is also crown lands, so lands that were owned by the monarchies, the Hawaiian government,
right.
Which were ultimately stolen by American businessmen, and then through what we're going to discover as we get through this podcast, through transactions, basically like got in the hands of the state of Hawaii, who has been leasing land on Mauna Kea for $1 a year to tell us $1 a year, kind.
$1 a year.
Wow. $1 a year.
You can't even get Simon from like the Mana Pool man. It's gone up to $1.25. Like Half moon, $1.75.
Mauna Kea, man, why are you playing us like that, bro? You know what I'm saying?
No, because I heard the $1 a day thing, like, but that's been all the way up until what date? Like that $1 a day deal was going to win. That's not like an old deal.
No, I mean that's what they do.
They got grandfathered in.
I mean,
to some old plan.
and some of these telescopes haven't even paid their $1 a year, bro. They're late on their payments.
Oh my
it's nuts.
God.
So anyway,
Okay.
so they're so they've been leasing $1 a year to these various telescopes up on the mountain.
Right.
13 of them exist already.
Okay,
Right.
now why do they need 13 telescopes and now another one? Like, is this next telescope going to mean that you won't need the other 13? Or
Great question.
Each one has been, I mean, like different telescopes measure different things, different wavelengths of like, light, I guess.
Okay, so it's not like the iPhone 7.
I feel like it is like that.
Kind of is. Get rid of one and put a newer one.
It kind of is.
It kind of is. It kind of
Right?
is.
You can kind of see the evolution, right? Like, oh, look at that telescope, how cute it was. You couldn't even like swipe left. You know what I mean? It's like, all you could do was text and like a picture.
Totally.
And then by the 13th one, maybe it had more like stuff. But this one, the 30-meter telescope, is probably like the Note 10 Plus. It's
It's the Note
like the flagship.
16,000
Right.
plus.
Right.
Because it's like it's gonna be the size of a football stadium ultimately.
Right.
When they build it, if they build it,
Right.
they'll build it somewhere.
Right.
And that's the whole dispute is that TMT does not need to be on Mauna Kea.
Right.
Yeah, in order to do the science, it can be they have other places where they can put it. So that's why this the building of the TMT has galvanized the Hawaiian community and just people in general, people who are active in land disputes and just in the movement of like doing what's right for the land.
Right, like the Canary Islands, for example, is one place.
Canary Islands is a great place where they can put the TMT.
Right.
So people have been coming out and ultimately blocking and stopping and protecting the mountain, stopping the TMT from being built on Mauna Kea.
Right.
So, and this battle has been going on for a long time. Right. It's not just recent, but last month in July, the TMT was slated to start construction, and that's why it all kind of came to a head. Because this is it's kind of like do or die time. Right
it's
now,
literally like Tiananmen Square, right? Like you had to stand in front of like bulldozers and people like holding hands. Like it's basically like the most insane game of Red Rover, with the kapuna holding hands. You're gonna try and shoot a kapuna Red Rover.
How are you gonna try to do that?
And then like they get the kind bachi from Tafiti and all the other gods in Moana. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Oh, like break the chain with two, kapuna holding hands. Oh, Red Rover. I was like, nah, I'm out. Too rich for my blood.
Yeah, which is a great image, right? I mean, you've got our kupuna holding it down. I mean, they have so much wisdom and so much like pono in them that and for them to be arrested and carried away. And
so that's what happened, right? They got arrested. This is just like a few weeks ago. They get arrested.
Oh, yeah.
Then Ige kind of backs down. And so what happened with that? Ige said, okay, wait, time out. And then there's some extension, right? What was that about? A 2-year extension. What is that?
I mean, he's basically saying,
it's kind of like a stare down, right? It's kind of like, let's see where you got. I can hang out. We're going to just hang out for 2 years. Can you guys keep on blocking the roads? Right?
I mean, that's what it is.
A little bit.
So originally, TMT had to start construction by, I think, like October or November.
Right.
Or something like that.
There was like
otherwise, their permit or whatever they were working with would expire.
Right.
So Ego was like, no, we're gonna extend that permit. We're gonna extend that that start time to 2 years. But here's the thing that no one that they're underestimating is that the dedication to this battle is so deep that folks are willing to like come out for years and years and years. They're not going home.
Dude, there's alternate like ways to keep doing your UH Manoa classes.
Yeah.
From the Mauna. Dude, you like Skyping your finals in. Like it's just, hey, you know what I mean? That's what it is right now.
Why not, right? I mean, there is a university up there. And they are.
Is it accredited though? Like I mean, and I say that hope like I would love it if it were. Why not? Why does it matter where? Right? Why couldn't you get an accredited?
I mean, I guess the accreditation would be through UH, right? I mean, the folks who are teaching classes up there, like specifically for UH.
It must be like a civil war there, though, right? Because like half the UH is probably for it, and then the other half is like, I don't even know if it's half. It's probably I don't know. What is it?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I mean, here's the thing: we're trying to shift the dialogue
Right.
so that it's not 50-50, it's not 60-40. It
Right.
becomes more like 80-20, 90-10.
Okay.
Once people realize, like, we do not need the TMT up here. It does not benefit Hawaii extraordinarily,
Right.
so that we would like. I mean, whether it's Canary Islands or Hawaii, as long as the science gets done, what does it matter that it's here?
Right.
You know,
Now, can I ask what is their reasoning of why they want it here so badly?
I mean, okay, so like the most recent article that I saw was that Mauna Kea is an amazing place for astronomy. So that would be like a 10 out of 10, right?
Like, so one of the arguments is that even though you could take it to the Canary Islands technically, and it would work there, one might argue that it wouldn't be as clear as Mauna Kea, and that directly affects the like sort of the purity of the data itself, right? There's one argument.
Well, it's a 9.9,
Right.
which means that like in order to get similar, like the same data, it would just take a little bit longer. You would have to, you know, like. So
right, there's a little bit more clouds Canary Islands way, so like it would take a little bit more time. Time is money.
It's
blah, blah. Okay.
yeah, it's lower atmosphere, and the thing is, I mean, like, I don't know, I mean, $1 a year,
Yeah.
can't beat that for rent,
Right.
you
No,
know?
but that's another part of this is like, look, I mean, and right now, of course, like it's just not for sale. But at least the conversation of like, okay, if it were to be for sale, can we get someone else negotiating this deal? Like, who the hell? Where's Jerry Maguire when you need him? Like, we need to negotiate a better deal if we were like ever going to talk about, okay, let's figure out something. You know, that's a definite blasphemy.
Yeah.
That, not only are you using it without permission or using it without the blessing of the indigenous people, but then they're doing it in such a but you did it in a sleazy way. Hashtag Tupac. You know what I mean? It's like,
I do know what you
it's
mean.
like both. We're getting like screwed both ways, right? As
Yeah.
opposed to like at least let's talk better negotiation.
exploitation. It's
Right.
big business. It's the same way that it's been done forever and ever, right? I mean, like you've got these big multinational corporations paying $0 in taxes.
Right.
How does that happen? Well, they're working the system. This is
Right.
another work of the system. But the thing is, we're questioning the system.
Right.
And so once you start to do that, then people mobilize, they activate, and now we're seeing thousands of people making the trek out to the Mauna to be a part of this movement.
Okay, so let's take your mindset, because like, by the way, you're like, if you guys don't know, I mean, I said all that stuff in the beginning, but I mean, that makes this, like what you've done for your whole life makes you, like, to me, a very unique person to ask, you know, in this situation, because you literally, you have your nuclear engineering degree from MIT, so you've got the science, you got the math in your brain. You have your one-man show / film, and, you know, the story of everything, where you literally tell us the story of everything from the Big Bang all the way to 13.8 million years of, like, you know, time going by and what has happened.
13.8 billion years.
That's what I meant. Did I say million?
13.7 billion years.
13.8 million
Off
years.
by a couple.
Hey, one continent.
Carry the one, bro. Carry the one. You know
One
what I'm saying?
continent, yeah. Yeah, so 13.8 billion years, and you took us through that whole story.
Right.
And so this poem you brought to us, taking it back to the poem for Mauna Kea, it's like I was thinking in my head, your brain might be having a civil war too.
Like you can relate, right?
Right,
Both
because
sides.
if anyone knows how, like, you're not going to just jump in and just bash the telescope for no good reason. If you're going to pick a side and say, only TMT, which you are doing, I love to hear from your scientific mind how you can get to that conclusion. So bring us there.
And that was the whole thing, right? It's like,
Right.
so, you know, a lot of people were asking me, like, what do you think about the TMT? What do you think about the TMT?
Right.
And, you know, I would have the same answer.
Right.
But then ultimately I was like, I need to put that answer out in a creative way.
Right.
That breaks it down. That breaks down the pros of telescopes, because telescopes are amazing. They've told us so much about the origins of the universe.
Right.
Yeah.
Cut to today, where they're about to make, like, you know all the stats because it's in your poem, but it's like one of the biggest telescopes ever made by mankind, right?
Biggest telescope in the northern hemisphere. There's going to be another one
Right.
in the southern hemisphere, roughly the same size.
Right.
So that way you can look up and you can look down into about 13 point something, maybe 13.4 billion years back in time.
Wow. So it's like almost to the Big Bang, but not quite. It's like you took us all the way to the foreplay, but not like the first kiss.
Yeah, you'll be able to see stars that existed roughly after the Big Bang.
Wow.
Is the idea.
Wow.
So like the very first stars, basically, right? The ones that led to galaxies.
Right. You go past all the way past when Michael Jackson was black, all the way past that, like even way past that.
Yeah. Like Rockin' Robin, ABC,
Flintstone and Car by Feet. Yeah. Takes you all the way back, and then you see the first stars. Okay, so like, tell me this then. Be honest. Was there ever a moment where, like, even in the quiet of your mind, where like, okay, I'm Hawaiian. My name is Kealoha. I'm the Hawaii State Poet Laureate, but I'm also a scientist. Was there ever a little temptation to be like, okay, I'll only TMT out in public, but in my mind, I'm like, I would love to work that 30-meter telescope myself. Get my hands on like a Note. It's like a Note 10 Plus.
Yeah,
I want to check it out. I mean, a little bit, or no?
Kind of, but I mean, no, because I mean, okay.
It's not at the.
I don't need to fiddle around with the Note 10 Plus.
Right.
I mean, as long as I know it exists and people are using it.
Let's fly to the Canary Islands.
Cool, yeah.
Right.
I mean, like, I don't even need to be at the telescope. I just want to find out what.
Screen mirror me.
Yeah, but just tell me the info. Give me the cliff notes. Give me the conclusions. Give me the findings, and then I can work with that. Because like on a human level, like that's the knowledge base. Science is science, no matter where it takes place, right?
Right.
So as long as the science gets done, then that part of my brain that's like, oh yeah, like this is a cool project, that part of the brain is satisfied. Right. I don't care who's doing it.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's like, that's ego, right?
Right.
For those of the folks who are like pro TMT in Hawaii on Mauna Kea,
it's like we want.
Why? Why? What do you have to gain from this? Like, you know, because you're not getting money. Maybe like a small pittance. I think they're gonna give like $1 million in education like yearly to something. But I mean,
it's kind of like the Carmelo Anthony situation, where it's like you want to be involved, but it's time to be on the bench. Like it's just. I know you. I know you want to be.
You want to play.
You want to be in the All Stars.
But that's ego.
Yeah.
We don't need to be naming these discoveries after Hawaiian. I mean, how like ironic is that? Yeah, you want to like trample over the Hawaiian culture, but you want to look into the stars and then name these like new findings after Hawaiian names.
Right.
Like, bro, like what is that? Like, what's the mindset there, right? Like you want to like own this data, but like in order to do that, you've got to like trample over thousands of people to get there.
Right.
Like,
I see what you're saying. Right.
And that's rugged.
It's like having slaves, making them pick cotton, and then you name your pillows after the slaves. I mean, like what? Why? That's even cooler.
That's cold, man. That's cold. That's harsh.
That's savage. Okay,
that's salt in the wounds.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. If the science is your concern, well, it can happen somewhere else. If the ego is your concern, you got to check your ego. You don't like to claim that we discovered this.
Right.
You know, that's Carmelo Anthony.
Right.
And then the money argument.
Right.
I mean, that's thrown out the window too. It's like, how much money is this thing going to produce for the state of Hawaii and for the people of Hawaii?
Well, we heard a lot of arguments saying that a lot of jobs are going to, go towards the Hawaii people. But in your poem, you talk about how it's mostly not for. I
mean, what jobs?
Local, I don't know.
Maybe the construction of the thing.
Right.
Might hire some people for X number of years.
Right.
But the running of the telescopes, you think they're going to let locals run that freaking 30-meter telescope? Like maybe they might give us like an hour or two per week or something like that. I don't know what the breakdown is, but I mean, just look at come on. The people, I mean, like in order to rent time like in the telescope, it's like people are willing to pay choke money for that. Like international communities want to come and like look through these telescopes, and they pay the big bucks. And I think the UH stands to gain like X number of hours per day or per week or whatever.
I have a question really quick. So these 13 telescopes that are there, like they're not even accessible to like regular people, like not anything. Like we can't go on can we go on tours? Can we?
I think you can go on tours maybe.
But
I don't
it's
know.
all for research. It's not. There's in no way this is benefiting any Hawaiian people at all.
Like you, Tina, want to go up the mountain and go look through the
Well, it's
Subaru
like if I live
telescope
here and
and
you're
like pay
putting
like
it-
$20 and no.
It's not
no
like
ways.
it's not like Karaoke Hut.
Right.
You can't just like you can't just
Well, I
rent out
just
2
wanna-
hours.
yeah, okay.
But that would be cool.
It's like,
It would be cool.
some people I see like they go like a tourists go to Mauna Kea, right?
Yeah. You can
And
take a tour of
what
like
is there really? If
there's the visitor center.
Right.
Yeah, so you can go visitor center and like.
and you have to pay to go there.
Nah. Visitor center is you can just go, but I think they do like guided tours or something like that.
Okay.
And they just go see that. That's a telescope. No, you can't.
I've
it's
never
the
taken the
research.
tours. I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know how it's all going down. I've been to the visitor center before.
Okay, well, I'm gonna set your poem real fast, but before we
Okay.
get there, like, let me just ask you, since we're talking about this negotiation thing, can you even fathom a deal that could be struck where like the Hawaiian people would be like, okay, now we're talking, as opposed to like right now it's just like, you know what, too little, too late. It's 13 telescopes later. You guys still trying to bulldoze over us. You're not respecting the process, so it's not
What
for
would it
sale.
take?
And I get it. I get that. I do get that. But it's like, do you think is it possible that someone from their side could come back and says, you know what, the $1 a day thing was skanky, that was dirty, that was skebe.
I think.
But is there any way that
Is there any way that
that
this
the deal could
telescope
be
can be built? Yeah, the
Right.
deal is so sweet.
It's so sweet.
Yes. And I'm gonna hypothesize
Okay.
that the one thing that could shift the whole thing
Right.
is to turn Hawaii back into a country,
This is what
like
I'm
the
talking
country
about.
of Hawaii, an independent country of Hawaii. You get like, and so there's a government called
Right.
the country of Hawaii. There's no longer the state of Hawaii,
Right.
and the country of Hawaii decides, you know what? Let's do the telescope.
Hashtag sovereignty.
Hashtag sovereignty.
But
you know what I'm
a
saying? Like,
new, modern, updated version.
yeah, if the Hawaiian people are like, yo, we've got our nation back, we've got our country back, and the thing is, like, the vision for sovereignty, you know, if you travel around these sovereignty circles, like, it's not an exclusive thing. Because I mean, the thing is, like, the country of Hawaii before it was overthrown and stolen included all kinds of different people. It wasn't just native, indigenous,
Right.
Aboriginal Hawaiians.
Right.
It was all over the spectrum, and like, so ultimately, we're talking about a government that got overthrown. So if now like the country of Hawaii and like you know, we're following like Hawaiian national law and constitution, and we go through a process, and then the people decide, let's do the telescope or not.
Right.
Then maybe that's a possible pathway for this
Right.
telescope to be built.
Right. Now
mean-
we're just two entities at the negotiating table, and you know.
Sure. But at that point in time, I'd be willing to estimate that you'd have a much easier time just moving it to the Canary Islands in Spain. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and I'm not even sure if you're guaranteed that the people would be like, let's build it.
Right.
You know?
Okay, let's get into this. Let's just see it. You got that audio up? Just make sure it's up.
What's that?
Okay.
Ayo. We understand that light travels at almost 186,000 miles per second, which is really fast, almost instantaneous, the small distance between you and I. But when we look at objects that are really, really, really far away, it takes a certain amount of time for that light to reach our eyes until we've realized that when we look up into the night sky, the light from the closest star took 4.2 years to reach us. So when we look at that star, we are seeing it how it was over 4 years ago. But most stars are even farther away. Their light traveling for hundreds or thousands or millions or billions of years for us to witness. And so when we look at the stars, we are seeing them how they were when our ancestors roamed this earth. So in a very real way, when we look up into the sky, we are peering through a portal to the past. It is the closest thing we have to time travel. But the thing is, there are billions and billions of stars that we can't even see with our naked eyes. So sometime in the 1600s, we figured out how to build telescopes to see them, to see billions of years into our universe's past with even more clarity. Sometimes we need a little something extra to see more clearly. Which brings us to today. where some of us are proposing to build the 30-meter telescope or the TMT on Mauna Kea in Hawaii, but you see the TMT is more than just a telescope. It'll be one of the biggest telescopes humankind has ever built, 18 stories tall with a footprint of 5 acres, providing 12 times more clarity than the Hubble Space Telescope to give us the ability to focus even better on the earliest moments of our universe so we can tell the story more clearly on how we got here. But even more important than that is that the TMT is more than just a telescope. It's that something extra that we needed to help us see more clearly. It's a catalyst that has awakened a movement that has provided us the ability to see with more clarity Hawaii's past. The ability to focus even better on the earlier moments of our nation so we can tell the story more clearly on how we got here. You see, the TMT is more than just a telescope. It's a time travel portal to the past. It's a time travel portal to Iolani Palace, a sacred stolen land where indigenous people stood to protect our government from being illegally overthrown by treasonous businessmen in the 1890s. It's a time travel portal to Kaho'olawe, a sacred stolen land where an indigenous people stood to protect one of our islands from being bombed by the United States government in the 1970s. It's a time travel portal to Mauna Kea, a sacred stolen land where an indigenous people now stand ku to protect Kia'i, our mountain, Mauna, ku Kia'i Mauna, from the further desecration and environmental degradation. As a time travel portal to the same story of broken treaties and broken trusts told and retold and retold around this globe through the hoarse voices of indigenous people. But this time, we stand while the world is watching. You see, there are other places that the telescope can be built, you know. Other places where the science will be the same. Top of the list is the Canary Islands in Spain. And we understand that science is science no matter where it takes place, and the secrets of the universe will be revealed to us through a TMT in Spain. So if you find yourself in the pro-TMT on Mauna Kea camp, please understand that we do not understand your reasons why. Is it about money? Really? That $1 a year that the state will charge for rent, plus the promise of jobs for people mainly not from Hawaiian tax revenue that will benefit who? And how many? How much money do you need to gain to outweigh the pain of the thousands of us who agree that this sacred stolen land is not for sale? How many times must we all bear witness to the same abuses before we break the cycle? See, our ancestors used to look up to the stars too, you know. They used the stars as a roadmap to figure out where they had been and where they were navigating to. And so when we stand at the top of Mauna Kea and look up to Hokulea, we are reminded of our portal to the past. Our ancestors sent out the roadmap to protect our land, and while that message took over 100 years to reach us like the stars in our night sky, we can see clearly now. Because sometimes we need a little extra something to see more clearly. And that is why we ku Kia'i Mauna while we stand for Mauna Kea.
Thank you. We have to break it down because, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, it's so amazing, like, what you just did. First of all, let's just talk about, I mean, there's so many things that you broke down, but I see, like, the one thing you appreciate is how simple you made such a complex subject, which is kind of what poetry is in general. Yeah. You basically artistically and stylistically reinterpret information and make it, you know, more gettable, more entertaining, more whatever it is, right? You're giving that style to it. And I love the little pick and roll you did. I mean, it's like, it's just a very simple, you know,
simple play, right?
Yeah, it's a simple play. It's like, this is the telescope, physically, scientifically. This is what it does. And you lay it out, you know, it's something that helps us see, but not just distance and space, but time.
Time.
And space and time. We're like, oh
Space-time
yeah,
continuum,
space and
yeah.
time is connected. Oh yeah, so you took us there. You took us through a little gateway of, everybody knows that the stars are old, it's light from years ago, but then you took that sort of like family around the couch piece of information as a doorway. Then we went through that. And then next thing you know, like, wait, is this Hawaiian for the telescope? No, you just your name is Kealoha. You're not supposed to be praising that telescope right about now. I went tuned in for like only TMT, and then now I gotta take my flag, and I gotta put them away. And right when you think you're going for the telescope, here's another telescope, and then here comes the power of language, the power of metaphor, the power of poetry. And this is exactly what you're good at. You got the science mind to explain to us the science, and we know, okay, this is MIT science brain talking. And then you go, okay, let me now put that microphone down, pick up this other microphone. Now I'm Hawaiian, and then you have that other poem, Hawaiian in 21st century.
Which, I mean, they're kind of similar, right?
It's a theme.
It's about if you're trying to win a debate, right? If you're trying to like win an argument or like at least present your side, it helps you infinitely to understand the other people's side
and to give it a fair shake before you just start bashing. Because you seem close-minded. If you're just like, screw telescopes and anything that can see stuff better. Like, it's like, we're not against science. That's what you're representing.
Exactly. We're not against science.
You're a Hawaiian promoting science and in fact clarifying and helping us to see better with the metaphor and the use of your language. Using language like a telescope in order to say that that's a better telescope.
Yes.
It's like, I see you, telescope, and I raise you one telescopic,
Boom.
zoom in, I zoom out, or whatever.
Yup.
It's like I up your ability to zoom, and I look at something even deeper that has more possible value here. And not only that, plus can get telescope too. Canary Islands, see ya, bye. You know what I mean? It's not an either or.
It's not an either or.
I want real telescope, Canary Islands, and then I want actual poetic, cultural, telescopic ability for us to look into our past and to not make the same stupid mistakes, right? To not allow bullying on any stage, whether it's like this huge capitalistic, billion-dollar corporation doing it to a small indigenous people, or it's just like the big lady at Walmart trying to take your Black Friday deal. It's like, hey. Or if it's Henry Cejudo trying to call out the girls to be the intergender champ. No bullying on any level, right?
Yes. Yes, please.
Right. I mean, and it's like, there's still some rhyming in there. How much money you need to gain for make up for the pain. So it's
Small guy, sprinkle it in just to remind you guys that I'm still kind of trying to do poetry.
Right.
Here.
But then like you stuck with just like, look, here's the give and go. I'm just gonna stick with the give and go.
Yeah.
And that's what we needed. That's what we needed.
Done.
Yeah.
I think what touches me the most too is that you put it in a way that I think that anyone, even if they're not Hawaiian, can understand this.
Right. And even if you're not into the science part, it's just made everything accessible for all of us,
And that was my target audience.
Right.
Was people who are either on the fence or pro TMT on Mauna Kea.
Right.
Is how can we reach them to bring them over to the side of understanding that there is an injustice going down right now, and we can actively stop that injustice, and that was the goal going into the writing of this piece, because every time anybody asks me what do you feel about the TMT, I try to break it down in that fashion, right?
Right. Have you gotten any negative criticism or talk? I mean, I know you probably got a lot of high fives and good job and Mauna symbol.
Yeah.
But have you gotten any are you not thinking about this side or what? Any?
The YouTube has maybe 4 or 5 thumbs down.
Oh, okay.
And there's one post that's like, yeah, but the Mauna Kea, the science won't be as good if it's not on Mauna Kea, But then a recent article just came out of folks, astronomers talking about how Mauna Kea is a 10. Canary Islands would be like a 9.99.
Right.
And I'm like, well, so
yeah.
I hear your argument, but it's not good enough to justify this entire issue. And that's the thing, is like using this telescope to look at Hawaii's history. And that's what I'm fascinated about, is like, the Hawaii's history is what's being brought out into the limelight. Yeah.
Right.
Like,
No, it's beautiful.
Well, because if you're not from Hawaii, most people don't know Hawaii's history. Like, they have no idea that.
well, most people in Hawaii don't know
their own
Hawaii's history.
Yeah.
Let's break that down. So Hawaii is established as a country in the 1840s.
Right.
Yeah. And they have like a long history of signing treaties with other countries like Canada, China, Japan, the United States, and all these different places recognize Hawaii as a country.
Right.
Yeah. And then in 1893, and you guys know this, but I just want to make sure that the audience can follow along here.
Yeah.
1893, a bunch of businessmen, they overthrow the queen, and the representative democracy that existed.
She was forced to sign at gunpoint.
Here's the thing, though. What did she sign?
Right.
She was like super akamai. She was super smart in international law.
Right.
And she knew that this was an act of war.
Right.
Yeah, and this was not
Legitimate.
legal. She got it. She knew that the president had no choice but to like acknowledge that this was an act of war. So he did. So she saved like the bloodshed of that moment to give her descendants, to give the people of Hawaii a chance to reclaim the government later on.
Right.
Because
it's kind of like what Doctor Strange did with Iron Man in Avengers Endgame.
I think I missed that. I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see that one yet?
I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
You're only a year late. I didn't know there was spoiler alerts for Avengers.
Yeah, there's
Sometimes you got to sacrifice a piece, in other words, to get the greater. Yeah. Okay.
Totally. If Mitch McConnell was to be like, okay, we're taking over Canada, and so they pass it within, the U.S. House of Reps, and then the Senate, and then the president, and they all agree, okay, Canada's ours now.
Right.
But Canada had no say in this. No,
Right.
they did not sign anything.
Right.
Like, we didn't
Right.
take them over. They didn't agree that
Right.
So you can't just pass a law internally that applies to other countries.
Another metaphor, you can't get consent when she's sleeping, Cosby.
Oh my God.
That's not consent, making her limp hand sign some stuff. You're putting her limp, sleeping, napping thumbprint
Cosby.
on a napkin and trying to sign it? Ole
Cosby.
Ole C-O-S-B-Y.
Yeah, so that's basically what they did in
Right.
1898.
Right.
And so that began the territory of Hawaii, but that didn't follow U.S. law, and it didn't follow international law.
Right.
It
So-
didn't follow any law.
Okay.
It was just like, we're just gonna take over Hawaii, you know?
So here's the latest metaphor I've been using, right? It's kind of like musical chairs. Okay, so Hawaii, the indigenous people, we sit our okole on the freaking chair of Hawaii first.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's our chair.
Yep. And establish
And
the
then
government.
boom, right? And then here it comes, right? The other, the mainland okole.
Yeah.
And he's got a gun with him. So
Okay.
now he sits down, in this wonderful musical chairs game we're having. We're just like minding our business, playing our game, and he sits on our lap, and we're like, I was here first.
Totally.
And
so then
then-
we're like, foul.
Time out.
And then we call on the United Nations.
Right, the musical chair like Venturi, not Venturi, but what do you call it? Voltaire.
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
Twilight
You're going
reference.
there. You're going there.
So there's like the Voltaire, but like they judge the musical chairs game of the international musical chairs game, and they're like, hey, that's foul.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing right now. That's what so there's this dude Keanu Sai. Keanu Sai and his posse
Right.
have been interfacing with the United Nations. And so I would highly recommend, like, anybody who's listening to this podcast, go and listen to Keanu Sai. That dude, he's got a
He's representing
PhD
us.
in political science, and
Right.
he's been going up to The Hague. And basically, the United Nations knows about these injustices. Like, everybody
Right.
knows about these injustices.
Right.
Everybody knows the history and the facts.
Right.
That Hawaii is an occupied nation.
Right.
It's been occupied for 100 and
Whatever 1893 is
Yeah.
minus 2019. Google it.
Thank you. Yeah,
put
do
it
the
in
math.
Google.
Do the
Yeah,
math.
yeah,
Do the math. So yeah, for over 100 years,
Right.
Hawaii has been an occupied nation, and that's so like the United Nations is aware of that, and now it becomes a function of like how do we reconcile this, and that's what's so cool about Mauna Kea.
Right.
And that's what's this telescope
Right.
has allowed a whole ton of people to be aware and to activate and to start making moves to push
Yeah.
the movement forward.
Well, that's what's so beautiful about your poem. It's like while everybody was worried about the physical 30-meter telescope, its big carbon footprint, how big it is, this huge. Meanwhile, all the kapuna and all the memes and all the kids and the keiki and all the, the Rock, Aquaman, everybody joining forces, we're creating this like metaphoric telescope, and everybody's looking through it. And they're seeing they're seeing the Native Americans. They're seeing a lot of the same story happening in the evolution of humanity. And so we're not just seeing like, stars and space and like, that kind of stuff. We're seeing each other. We're seeing humans. We're seeing like what we've done to each other. And so it's like, it's so crazy to pit one telescope against the other, and one of them doesn't even really exist, but it's just a figment of your words and your, your creation. But now I can see it now. Like after hearing the poem and stuff, now that metaphor is so useful for me. I can see how everybody, even like social media is like one lens, is a part of that, metaphorical telescope, and we're all looking now, but everybody has their own lens.
Yeah, and that's
like
revolutionary.
A billion like lensed, multi-billion lens telescope that doesn't exist in physical space.
Absolutely, and it's really, really hard to get away with some bullshit these days. Because there is a camera everywhere. So if you want to try and pull some like international like crimes against humanity, like the world's watching.
It's almost like, so it's like we have no problem like calling out Liam Neeson for something he said like 70 years ago. Paula Deen for something she, for like whatever weird themed weddings shit she's made with some weird slave themed cakes. It's weird. We're trying to nail all these people for all their past, but it's like for some reason 1893 is too far back. Like 19, it's all within the 100 years.
1959. So the Hawaii has been a state for like 60 years.
And then like you mentioned, even in the 70s with Olave, right? And then it just keeps on going. The 13 telescopes has its own history of like, not treating us right and with respect, so it's like.
So the thing about this, like our parents were born in the country of Hawaii. In the territory of Hawaii. Our great grandparents were born in the country of Hawaii.
Dude, my grandma was born 1914. She was telling the story how she's doing laundry Pearl Harbor Day, and she see the planes over. I had to like tell my dad go inside or whatever. It's like, wow.
So it's not that far. It's not that much. Back in time. So I mean, like, the argument that you hear all the time is like, oh, it could never happen. Like, we're already in this deep. We're the 50th state, and it's a round number. Like all the weird arguments that come out is like, well, when you really like peel back the layers, like, and you look at the history of time of humans and countries and international relations, 100 years is not that deep. 60 years is not that deep. So they're like, and that's what's happening right now, folks.
Just
Like
rubbing salt in the wound already.
These conversations are gonna have to be had pretty soon.
So what's our strategy? Like, Iga is pulling this, okay, two-year extension, Brian, and now you got people taking classes on the Mauna, but what's our 2-year, do we have like, we don't want it to be like the Occupy movement all over again, right? I mean, it's like, we don't want to lose steam and just, it turns into just like homeless people, right?
Totally.
So it's like, I mean, what do you think looking for just even the next 2 years, what's a good way to look at like keeping the momentum up? Because that is a tough, I mean, at first when Ige, made the whole 2-year extension, we're like, oh yeah? You think we got, okay, I got to fly back Monday, I get work. You know what I mean? At first then you're really like, okay, it starts to get real, right? You're like, okay.
It's a long game. It's a long game.
First had like a couple, like had 1,500, 2,000 at one point. You get like, Jack Johnson doing free concerts, but then, school just started last week.
Life and winter comes and like all that stuff. I mean,
right,
like, bro, how long can you play the game, right? How
Right.
like everybody's bluffing. Like
Right.
EA's bluffing.
The TMT guys, like, they must be like,
They're sweating.
they must be thinking like, I know they're Googling Canary Islands deep
Oh
in the
no,
middle of the night.
they've already started the process
Right.
of like obtaining the
Second place,
the,
right.
Yeah, the whatever the permissions, permit,
Right.
whatever, like
Right.
all that stuff to like make it happen in the Canary Islands. Like
Right.
they're already playing the plan B, because I mean, like every day that goes by, everybody's losing millions of dollars, right? Or
Right.
however many dollars.
Right.
So, and ultimately, I mean, like, if you're a $1 billion project, you only have so many millions to lose from your investors, Like, they want this thing to be built soon.
Right.
Yeah? So, and it's going to take years and years to build once you start building.
Right.
So it's like, if you delay the start process by like months, years, whatever, then it's more beneficial for them to just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, and that's the game that everybody's playing. So the folks who are protecting Mauna Kea, they're playing the game of like, yo, how long can you guys wait?
This is totally that.
We can wait. We've been here since day one, yo.
Right.
Like we're willing to like die for this.
Like, they have no idea like how much we can survive with just like one cooler, couple tea leaves. You know what I'm saying?
One piece of kulolo, little hopia, lau, bro. Hey,
one bowl of poke. You don't know.
you don't know. You
don't
have
know
no
us.
idea. We've been waiting for this our whole lives,
dude.
You know?
One red rubber ball. We can play four square.
Bro, we're
ages. You don't know local people. You never played four square with us before.
Bro, we've been playing games at rocks since day one, bro. Ulu Maika since day one, cousin.
Seriously,
So
right?
yeah, we're ready to go.
Hula competition on the Mauna.
That's what's happening.
We ain't going nowhere, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be like the kind right outside Waikiki Shell for just ages. No challenge us. One blue tarp, okay? One blue tarp and one ukulele. Hey,
Bruh.
we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. Okay, we go from that poem. Okay, what's happening in the whole Hawaii slam poetry world? Like, what's next? What's coming up 2019? I mean, how long has the slam poetry thing been going on?
Hawaii Slam has been going on since 2003.
2003.
So
Holy
we're going to call that
smokes.
16 and a half years.
Wow.
Ish. The Poetry Slam is a game that poets play in order to spread our poetry. You know,
Right,
and ultimately,
right.
as long as the poetry is heard.
So how can one present their poem in your poetry slam? What do we have to do?
Okay, so you got to write a poem.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to practice it.
Okay.
Then you come.
So there's no reading your phone.
you can.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and especially on the no rules.
Yeah.
Poetry.
No, hey,
Okay.
do what you do. Read from your phone, bring up a piece of paper, memorize it, freestyle it.
Right.
Whatever you want to do, you just get a poem together, get a poetic expression together, sign up on the list.
And
Boom.
where's the list?
Right by the stage, right before the
Oh,
show.
the day of.
Day of.
Okay.
Day
Okay.
of.
No
Come.
applying, and you don't
No.
review these people before
no,
and make
no,
sure
no.
they're legit.
No,
No.
no, no.
So if someone goes up there and just like
It's
bombs,
like it's like
If you bomb, you bomb. That's on
Okay.
you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It's like
Okay.
American Idol, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
you're gonna get.
Are you like Simon?
No, I don't do nothing.
Nothing.
I mean,
Okay.
I host, so
Right,
I
right.
MC the thing.
Okay.
But there's 5 random judges in the audience, and they do the judging. They're the Simons and the
Okay.
Paula Abduls. And
Right.
They're doing the thing in the audience. And then there's a winner, and the winner of every night takes home $100.
Cool.
And then if you're top 2, then you qualify for the Grand Slam finals in April, where we give away $2,000.
Nice. So okay, and then where is it, and when do we go?
So we're at Hawaiian Brian's, 8:30 p.m. on the first Thursday of every month. It's called First Thursdays. Hawaii
Thursdays.
Slam's First Thursdays.
Got it.
Yep.
And the website is what? HawaiiSlam.com.
HawaiiSlam.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of lightning round questions. Okay, so you're only TMT for the Mauna, but what about the other Civil War? Clippers or Lakers?
Gotta go Clippers.
Oh,
Gotta go Clippers, y'all. Got to go with Kawhi.
Kawhi, and who else is on the team? I forget. There's Kawhi,
PG Buzz.
Paul George, Sweet Lou,
Yep.
Beverly.
Yep.
Who's the big guy?
I don't know. I'm not that deep into Clippers
Okay,
land.
I think it's Zubac. Who just came from the Lakers. On the Lakers side, we got Anthony Davis, LeBron,
and that's
I'm going for Lakers because there's no more ball,
no more ball.
right?
Oh, no more
Lonzo?
Lonzo. Yeah, no more Lonzo.
What happened?
He
went to somewhere
Memphis.
else.
Memphis
He got
or something?
traded?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got traded.
He got traded.
Yeah, so the Lakers are
And
ballless.
DeMarcus is out, right?
Yeah,
ACL
yeah.
tear or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah. And they're not really a team. They're just a cobbled together like group of folks.
Okay, well, are you gonna send Liko to private school, public school, or homeschool?
Oh, he's already in private school.
I know, but like, there's no. He's gonna stay that way. There's no.
All the way through.
Because we were talking about homeschool as an option, and especially if your
So
dad.
what we were thinking
is
was like
freaking-
if Liko did homeschool, then we could just send Lonnie to the MIT. And we know
We're like,
for sure
yeah,
she'll
dude.
get the right education.
That's all I'm saying.
I mean, that's work.
It
That's
is work.
It
You
is
know what I'm saying? Like, you want to teach. I mean, you want to go like old school and just teach your kid all day.
Right.
Like, whoo. I mean, when do you
How's
go
that?
That's why-
surfing? When
that's
do you
why-
write poems? When do you like?
That's
you know,
why it takes a village to raise a child. Because I gotta go surf.
What was that? There was a movie. I think it was called Captain Fantastic. Is that was the name of it?
Captain Fantastic.
Where
Yeah,
he
yeah,
like
yeah.
had all the kids in the woods
Yep.
and they were like all super smart.
Yep.
I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
you
right.
could do that.
Yep.
Right.
And they celebrated Noam Chomsky Day.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. But didn't they turn out kind of messed up?
No, they were like, I mean, a
They-
little
they were
just
certainly
because they
weird.
were not. They were socially awkward because they were never around anyone.
They were the equivalent of like Waldorf kids.
In that movie, yes. In that movie,
They're like
yes.
smart but a little strange at parties. Like, like you have like these weird talents that you bust out at awkward times, but you know you're smart. you got it kind of together. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so what? Tell us what's going on with this film, because I know that's a little bit. I don't know how much you can talk about, but that's exciting.
I'm not sure exactly how much I can talk about it either, but we're turning the story of everything. I'm working with the Engaging the Senses Foundation,
Right.
which is this amazing foundation, and then also like some producers and directors in Hollywood, and some computer graphics folks.
Yeah, the
CGI
graphics
type.
was amazing. Like if you missed the show, you totally missed out because I mean, like with your poetry and in combination with the graphics, that was just like unreal.
You got to come out with a virtual reality version for Oculus.
So that could be a great direction, right?
Oh my God.
So and that's what's going down, is that we're turning the story of everything, which was a production that I've been working on that since 2011.
Right.
Turning that into something that can be shown on the screen. Yeah. Something that's, I mean, because like it's one thing to have me live and me and my crew, like and it's a big crew, to have us live in front of you, and you know that's an experience, but we can only do that so much.
Right.
To be able to put that on the big screen, will allow the art to reach more people. You know,
So it'll be like a Netflix special kind of thing, like how all these comedians have it. Like it'll be
knock on some wood. I mean, yeah, like something like Netflix or other distribution channels, like Disney or
Disney. That's coming out too.
YouTube, Amazon
Premium.
Prime or
Amazon
YouTube
Prime.
Premium, like any
Right.
one of those distribution channels, would be great. You know, like as long as it makes sense for the production and for the cost. I mean, the cost of this thing is like it's astronomical. You want to make a movie, it's like those things cost money.
wow.
So-
I can imagine. Yeah.
So are you working on like a second project, or are you still too deep in this one to even move on to the next one? Because you finished the writing for it a long time ago, but there's, and a lot of the productions, you have a production team working on it, right? So is there in the back of your head? I mean, obviously there's not Story of Everything 2, because then
The rest.
that would be like
Stuff we forgot.
that would mean the Story of Everything
It wasn't the story of everything.
The story of mostly everything is what you have to put in parentheses.
Yeah. I mean, I like your idea of the story of nothing, right?
Yes.
Which is your production.
Yeah,
But no, the story of everything right now is something I want to do for a while. Like I'm still touring it. So I'll be at the Arizona State University. Me and my crew, our touring crew, will be there in October. And I mean, you know, it's like to be able to continue to do the live show is really just like, that's a treat. I mean, because having that live experience and interfacing with people and letting them like get the message, like that's part of just being alive and being human, you know, having that connection and like touring and doing live stuff is like, I love that.
How do you feel about someone else making an edit on your piece though? I mean, we don't need to know what.
Yeah.
Like, how does that make you feel as an artist, as a poet, you know?
I mean, it's difficult. I mean, here's the thing. Here's what's even harder is making edits yourself. On your own.
Yeah, forget
piece.
someone else telling.
Yeah, you making edits on your own piece.
That's the hard part.
I mean, they call it killing your babies, right?
Yeah, it really does feel like that.
It really is. It's like, fuck, I slaved over this.
Yes.
This piece for like years.
And it's hard to tell because a piece can be perfect in and of itself, but maybe not fit into the whole narrative as perfectly as if you took it out.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's hard to tell.
And the thing is, it can be perfect in your head, but then having a fresh set of eyes, look at the piece and be like, hey, you know what? We don't need this part. And then it magically disappears. And then I see it with that part gone. I'm like, oh, it works.
Right.
And it makes the show tighter.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with the director and the producers. They're so awesome and they're so open to dialogue that like they tried to they made a bunch of cuts and like I'd say maybe about 60 to 70% of them I was like, cool. The 30 to 40%, I was like, hold on. We need to like this part of the thing is essential to the story. Right. We cannot cut this out. And they're like, yep, we get you. Okay. Put it back in.
Nice.
So, I mean, that's what's been cool about this filmmaking process is that these folks they get it, man. They get it. They get the art. They get the poetry. They're being true to the art form.
Now, do you find like being an artist from Hawaii, it's like we struggle even more than other people with the whole like saying what you need to say? Because it's like you live on an island, right? Even with the whole Mauna Kea thing, it's been like, it took forever for The Rock to come out. And then when The Rock came out, Bruno came out. It was like, everyone's like, okay, Dwayne's on this. Okay. But you know what I mean? It took a minute. Everybody's looking around. It's like, what, you going to say something? Like, we're a little bit, you know what I mean? We're very much like, we live in the same, I'm going to see you at Long's tomorrow.
Yeah,
so
we're very polite.
Do you feel that as a Hawaii artist? It's just a little bit more, right? We struggle with that. Asian, local.
The hesitation to like just be like, this is what I believe in. Right. Like, we're a little bit more conscious of like, okay. So here's my perspective. What do you think?
Right.
Okay, we cool. Okay, now you guys cool? All right, now we come out with the message. Right. So yeah, I mean that's just part of living on an island.
Right.
Being from an island people, like you learn how to get along with large number with your community, because if you don't, where are you gonna go? You're on an island.
Right.
You know
like, I've been noticing for like the Mauna Kea issue, it's like there's just so much to learn before you just open your mouth and start going off, right? So like, I mean, every time I talk about it, I go right? Like, is that like? Can someone Google me? Like, I just say what I've heard. And I go like, I think, isn't that the? So I just think that's something in Hawaii where we have we have to research everything before saying anything. Sometimes that's like years go by and we're just like kind of. I think there's a lot of people who have opinions on this, but we're just a very hesitant, quiet, like careful people. You know what I mean? You don't want to be like.
I think that's a good quality, man.
Yeah.
That's what keeps.
Us
sane. I think we're not going at each other's necks.
Right.
So it's been peaceful, and aside from the kupuna getting arrested, I forget what the number was, but it was in the teens, I think. Aside from that, I mean. It's been pretty peaceful and respectful. It's like you see images of the police officers and the protectors. They're embracing, they're hugging, they're kissing. They're like, it's people, just being people.
Right.
The police officers some of them must feel really torn, huh? Because they're trying to do their job, but.
I bet a lot of police officers are torn with, around in various issues. But yeah, in this one specifically, I bet they're super torn because these are like their aunties and uncles,
right? And they have no time to go home or whatever. Like,
they live in the same communities. You know what I'm saying? They've been like, these are their like Auntie Pua Case. She's been like teaching she's been like all these kumu. They've been teaching all these people on Moku Okeawe on Hawaii Island and teaching them, and then now like they became police officers, but like they're like, what did we sign up for? You know, it's like these are like my respected elders that I'm having to like arrest. And that's if I was in that position, I'd be like, guys, I'm not showing up to work. I'm sick.
Right.
I got this cough. You know, I can't go. Yeah. Like, yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, that's tough. Like, you know, a lot of them probably they even if you believe on the other side, it's like you got to choose.
You have to do your job.
Right.
If you don't do your job, you don't eat. Right. Right.
Right.
I mean, that's a rough place to be in. Like I bet within the police force on the Hawaii Island, I bet there's like choke of them are anti-TMT.
Totally.
They're all TMT.
Right.
But they have to be like, they have to do this job. Otherwise, what? They get fired, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you have that compassion for folks. But ultimately it's like, you still have to stand for what you believe in, and you have to fight for truth, you know?
Right. That's why Andrew Yang, bro, universal basic income.
Andrew Yang, bro. Oh yeah, we can go. You want to go there?
I do.
Yeah, let's go.
I do, because that kind of ties in. Like if we had a G a month, help get some Mauna pools on the Mauna.
Yeah,
you know, fill that cooler a little bit.
Yeah.
And still learn. I mean,
yeah.
What you do?
And so that's the thing, right?
You get a chance though, you for real. I mean,
Andrew Yang.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good and everything, but you think you get a chance?
I mean, we get Chinese
outside
bias. Chance. So for those of you who, I mean, you know, let's define this. There's this dude, Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
He's running for president.
Right.
And he is Chinese dude. He was an entrepreneur, and he is promising the citizens of America, if you elect me as president, I will give you $1,000 a month for life.
Yeah, he's like, where are you going to get that money from? He's like, I don't know. How about start taxing Jeff Bezos? How about we start with that?
Exactly.
If you just tax Bezos alone, that takes care of like half the states.
Boom.
Right.
So it's about like, you know, identifying all these companies who are getting rich off of basically technology, right? Robots and technology and automation, which is ultimately making people lose their jobs, closing down malls and shopping centers and closing down stores. And he's saying like tax them like a VAT tax, right? Which means like, you know, upfront, kind of like our GE tax, right? So it's like everything that you buy from Amazon, from Google, whatever, like they're like you tax that upfront and then use that money and distribute it to the people, the citizens, $1,000 a month. And that, like, I think that would change. That's a huge game changer.
Well, it's such an elephant in the room, right? It's like we've been playing Monopoly for all these centuries, and 1% owns 98% of the board.
Yep. So the 98% is like, whoa, hold up. How did we get here? And how do we like reverse that?
It's like, come on, guys. This like, can we start over? This is no fun. It's like every trip we take, we land on Oriental Avenue, which is racist as fuck as already. And then I got to pay money on when I land on my own avenue. It's like, you make me punch myself in the face. Like, that's no fair, right? So it's like, that's the whole thing. It's like this asymmetrical imbalance of like, basically divvying up the resources.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, first of all, you bullied your way in for all this time, right? And then so you got Baltic and Oriental, and you got all that stuff through guns and corruption, right? And then now, centuries later, we're just going to act like, okay, yeah, your name, Thurston, is on it, or whatever it is, Rockefeller, or whatever your name is. It's on that. You just own like property, and you pass it down to your rich, like spoiled, like Trump Jr. kids and whatever else, your grease back, like, you know, Pat Riley haircut owning kids. And it's like, what is the deal? Like, right? Like, so Yang is like coming along and saying, can we at least try to balance it out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But then that's the whole point, is like, how does he get voted in when the rich people who own half the board, 90% of the monopoly board, aren't they making the laws too?
Well, the game changer is that they only get one vote. So you can own like billions of dollars, but when you go to the polls, you get that one vote, and you can try and buy. You can like pay for advertising. You can like buy up politicians. You can do all that stuff.
Right.
But if someone comes in and the people elect him or her, then that's that's the platform. That's the bully pulpit. Like that key legislation that person ran on. That's the thing, you know?
Right.
And then along with that comes the big wave of other people who are running who get down with that message.
I just saw, what's her name? Who's the Hawaii chick? Tulsi. She's not going to even make it the debate stage. What happened there?
She did not make the requirements in order to get onto that debate stage. So I think it was like X number of donors and then X amount of money.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm sorry. It's X number of donors. Money maybe, but also your poll percentage. And I think the poll percentage is what she failed at. So she had the supporters, but the amount of people who, like, when polling happened, she didn't get. So here's the thing, just to make sure that we don't get any trolls in the comments.
Right.
I'm pro, like, independent nation of Hawaii.
Right.
But until we get there, I think it's in our best interest to, like, still participate in the state of Hawaii, to try and turn the system over, and as well as the nation of America to turn that system as well, until we can get that. So you can play both games, right? It's like
you can play both games at the same time.
I mean, you have to, because if we don't play that game, then we have folks like Ige, like arresting folks on the mountain.
Right,
so, but if you can if you can turn that system over, then you increase your chances for change.
Right.
So yeah, I do watch and participate in the American political system, and so like on the top of my list is folks like Bernie Sanders, Andrew Yang, Elizabeth Warren, and there's a hierarchy of order, because between Bernie and Andrew, they're probably my top two, but between the two of them, I'm not sure who I can give a preference to, because they're both coming pretty strong with some pretty cool ideas. Elizabeth Warren too, she'd be cool, but she's a little bit more tied into the big money politics, like the the big money donors and sort of that game. So I trust Bernie in his ability to do the things that he's trying to do, universal healthcare and things like that. And then Andrew Yang, if he can get in, game changer.
It'll be bigger than Linsanity. Linsanity was only 10 games, bro.
Yang sanity, bro.
Yang would take it, dude.
Oh, the yin yang.
Dude, 1,000 points per month. Woo.
Think about how that would change everybody that it would change their lives in a significant fashion.
And aren't there some places that we already have as precedents that have sort of tried this model?
Oh yeah.
Crime goes down. Yeah. Obviously.
Alaska has a universal basic income. In Alaska, every year they get about $1,000 to $2,000 a year, and that comes from oil. And they've been doing that for decades.
Dude, we could start parking in Waikiki. Okay, well, maybe not.
Maybe a couple times a month.
Don't get cocky. We just got it.
Oh shoot, where'd the money go?
One LV bag and you're done. You're right. It's not. But it's just, and that's what a lot of people think. It's like, $1,000 a month. We're all just gonna turn lazy, and we're all just gonna turn into meth addicts or whatever.
No, it's not enough to quit your job.
That's why it's perfect. It's just enough to help you.
Yeah.
On top of what you should be getting a job. And in Hawaii, you're not going to survive on $1,000 a month, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
And so the idea of the UBI, Universal Basic Income, that's what Martin Luther King Jr. was fighting for when he died, when he got assassinated. Right. He flipped his civil rights movement into a poor people's movement. And he was fighting for the UBI, the Universal Basic Income. Boom. Dead. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Thomas Paine, one of the founders of the United States of America, was all about the universal basic income. So there's a long history, and even I think the House of Representatives in I think the 70s, 60s, 70s, something like that, passed a UBI.
Right.
But it never got through the entire process. So it's come close, and now it's 2008, 2019. Here we are. And we're having this conversation on the big stage. And even if Yang doesn't get nominated and then elected, then as long as his message, the platform of the universal basic income, if that gets adapted or adopted by the nominee and then the eventual, hopefully, winner. If that gets adopted, then he win. Like, we win.
Right. Right. Totally.
Like, so, and that's part of why you run for president, is to get your platform heard.
Right. I mean, but just like, I know this is a dark question, but how realistic do you think it is?
What?
Just that someone like Yang and that plan could actually work.
Like, if he gets elected?
Yeah, I mean, no, like, just even like the what are the chances he does get elected?
I mean, at this point in time,
right?
Like right now today, there's a 1%, 2%, 3% chance.
Right.
I mean, whatever he's polling at, right? I mean, that's the chance that he'll
Which is
win.
ironic, because it's the 1% is who he's fighting.
Yeah. But I mean, but the thing is, like, people are just discovering him. Think about Bernie in 2016.
Right.
Or I guess 2015, right? Because that's when we started to really hear his message. No one had heard about him before that. But then you start to see all this footage of him from like the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and 2000s saying the same thing every decade with a different, like, he's progressively getting older and his hairdo is changing, but he's saying the same stuff. And then we're like, this dude is genuine.
Like, haven't we come to find out that anybody with that hairstyle is a genius?
I mean,
like from
Einstein, Back to the Future, Doc.
Yes, Einstein, Doc Brown, Bernie Sanders. That's 3 for 3 right there. Ain't nobody rocking that hairstyle.
I'm going to start rocking that hairstyle.
Dude, I'm going to try.
I'm going to give it a shot at least.
You got to try, man.
How do you get that hairstyle anyway?
Something to it.
Oh man, yeah, but I mean, and that's the thing. That's what I argue. That's what I put forth, is that if we can nominate and elect a president who is hella progressive, then that will be Trump's legacy. That will be what was worth going through Trump. Like, I will appreciate Trump.
Right.
If it leads to the people getting woke and then nominating and electing someone who gives a fuck about the people and who will fight for the people and who actually gets shit done. Like, if we can do that, then I'm willing to have gone through the Trump years. Because I mean, prior to that,
sometimes you gotta lose when you're up 3-1 against LeBron in order to get KD on the team.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
I didn't like losing. That didn't feel good.
That didn't feel good. For that 1 year, it didn't feel good. But the next 2 years,
it was great.
2.5 years.
Yeah. It's all over now. But it was the 2 years.
For the next 2 years, bruh, total domination. So yeah, like you take that beam for the team. If Trump leads to, I mean, because people got like when Trump got elected, people woke up. And that was, and it's been cool to see people waking up. And then now it's like the progressive agenda is on the big stage.
So Liko is 7 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And then Lonnie is what, 10 years old, Tina? Yeah. So when we're talking about all these like very philosophical, political concepts, and there's a lot of abstractness, and there's a lot of like what ifs and hopefully coulds and cross fingers and stuff, but like, what is the future for Liko and for Lonnie? What do you like? I mean, mix in a little bit of optimism, mix in a little bit of reality, a little science, a little culture, a little from your mind. What are you looking, the kind of Hawaii that these kids are going to grow up in?
I mean, like, throwing the biggest idea out there is the country of Hawaii.
We could get it back in their lifetime. Is the hope.
That's the hope.
Let's at least throw the hope out there.
Yeah, at least you got you gotta go for it. And then
let's go, Kealoha.
Because think about it, guy, all y'all who are like, oh, I don't think we can do it, or like, oh, it wouldn't work, and oh, another country would take us over.
Yeah, what's gonna happen to McDonald's and Starbucks?
Are we gonna live in grass huts? You guys,
there's a lot of that still going on.
I know that's the dumbest. So let's debunk those ideas now.
Okay, let's do it.
Think about it. Like the economy of Hawaii, when you go to pay your taxes, how much money goes to the United States of America?
I mean, well, overall, you're paying at least 40% ish, and then but some of that is federal, some of state. So, so how much is federal?
I'd say 20-something percent.
20%
is federal, right?
Okay.
So imagine all that money instead of going to America and the war machine and like all the bullshit, the Republicans up on fucking Texas, like all those motherfuckers up there.
Right.
Instead of that money going up there, it stays here in Hawaii, and we invest that in the national programs of Hawaii.
Right.
And like we build like the dopest society. We're like the Switzerland basically of the Pacific Ocean, which is ultimately what we were trying to do in the 1800s, right?
Right.
So, and which is what we were in the 1800s. We were a neutral state, a neutral country that and think about it. There's like countries all over the world who are our size, right? So you can point your focus on any other country, and even if it's not our size, right? I mean, like, so how's New Zealand doing? How's Tonga doing? How's Japan doing? How's Fiji doing? How's like any other independent country? They're doing all right.
So what would that mean for the military presence here? Like if
that becomes
withdraw.
That becomes a negotiation.
It's just a renegotiation, right?
Yeah, I mean, so maybe they withdraw. Probably not. I don't think America would ever try and withdraw its troops from anywhere it's established itself. Think about it. There's military bases all over the world, but they didn't take over those countries.
Right.
So there's a military base in Okinawa, right?
Right.
It's not like they took over Japan.
There's a relationship.
Yeah, there's a relationship, and so Japan is protected by the United States of America,
right?
And there's an agreement,
right? But
they are their own country.
It's like you could work together, but then instead of being an employee, you could be a sole proprietor, right? And hired base, and that just changes
totally. So if the nation of Hawaii, concludes that, hey, you know what, having the United States military here in a limited form it works for us. If that's what is determined, then boom, you've got a military base here. You don't have to worry about that aspect of defense. And besides, it's 2019. Can you name me any country who's taking over another country right now? Right.
You can't just
take over a country.
This is not like Braveheart, William Wallace, where you just storm the castle.
Is China taking over?
Only China.
India right now. I mean, right.
I
mean, like, is any country taking over any country?
I think the only way you can answer that is like companies are taking over people's minds and wallets and hearts, but it's not like the physical like taking over of land anymore. Right. But so like Bezos taking us through software.
I'd rather live in a country where me and my fellow citizens decide what we want to do with our resources and how we want to govern ourselves. As of right now, being a part of the United States of America, we have to deal with the bullshit gridlock of 8 years of Republican, 8 years of Democrat, 8 years of Republican, 8 years of Democrat, and all of them are fucking corporatists, and all of them are like bowing down to like multinational corporations, right? And doing the bidding of their corporate masters. Like, you want to be a part of that system? Is that system working well for you?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Or we, like Hawaii, a very liberal place, we just be liberal. We just be like a community of people who get along in this world and aren't like dumping a whole shit ton of our resources towards this military industrial complex of the United States of America. Right. Like, think about how much of your tax money goes to war, goes to the military. And if you could just divert that towards education, towards health, towards all the things that like are necessary for happiness, right? Like, and a great community. Imagine we do that.
Right.
I choose that over being a state in the USA. Right. So what? You want to travel? Get there's a passport now.
Right.
So that's what you hope for. But do you think that that's a realistic thing, or?
Well, I think it's possible.
It goes back to what you're saying about like maybe our most practical way back in is a guy like Keanu Sai like legally fighting for our case. You can't treat people like that in 2019, right?
And you know what? That's actually what was happening in the, just to give you guys some history, that's what was happening in the 50s. In the 50s,
Right.
the United Nations decided like, hey, all you imperial powers, England, France, Spain, all you folks who are like occupying the Pacific Ocean,
Right.
give those islands back. Give
Right.
those countries back. Like abandon them. You don't need to, like have all this colonial shit going on.
Right.
And so everybody started to like basically like abandon that plan. But the United States was like, oh, we really want Hawaii. Let's make them a state.
Right.
So they like prior to that United Nations pressure, so like all the folks in the United Nations started to like do the right thing,
Right.
and then the United States just kind of like snuck it in, and they're like, let's make them a state and like cover up the whole fact that like this is an illegal territory that we're occupying. So then
Right.
that's how like that's what kind of a bunch of things led to the statehood, but that was a big catalyst for the United States to be like, okay, let's make them a state.
Yeah, there was this one moment. You guys both didn't see it. I wish we could. I wish you guys saw it. But Dave Chappelle, he's talking about how like he was talking to his fellow black people, right? You know what?
Spoiler alert. What?
I'm just saying.
Spoiler alert.
He's just saying like, look, man. Everybody,
second
if
thing
we
you
want
sing.
to, I'm just saying, if we want to have our voices heard, okay, we all need to, when it comes time, we all need to register ourselves some firearms. So it's like, I mean, it's a joke, but it's almost like it pulls focus to that idea. Is like, look, man, in the history of fighting, right? There's one side that goes, hey, no fair, and there's one side with guns, right? And it's just like, I know he's joking kind of, but it's almost like how it's frustrating sometimes to think that you can't really get your point across, right? I mean that's how this whole thing started. Someone had a gun, right? Made us sign over stuff with a gun to our head. So it's like, it's hard not to think like that.
Like if we all armed ourselves with guns,
Right,
we lose.
This isn't like what's his name? Who was the guy who in the movie 300? Right, this isn't Gerard Butler and CGI bricks.
Yeah, exactly.
Where we can beat like 1,000 like army like with 300 people. That's the movie.
No can.
Right, but
so we gotta beat them with our minds.
Right, no, I
the
agree with
intellect.
you, but like just jokingly, I just refer to that Dave Chappelle joke.
I got you.
Because like even in Lion King, right? Like
Spoiler alert. No, okay.
Everybody saw Lion King.
I mean the old one.
Yeah, same
The Disney
thing,
version.
right?
Okay.
So it's
even
like,
Lion King, what?
The bottom line is the kingdom was stolen, right? It was
Okay,
at first it's Mufasa saying, everything the light touches shall be ours, Simba. And then Uncle Scar, right? He pushes Mufasa off the cliff, right? Steals the kingdom, brings in the hyenas.
Yep.
They're not Kanaka Maoli.
So
the hyenas.
yeah, totally. They were the occupied. They
occupied that
the kingdom.
That kingdom, right?
Yep. And then the rightful Simba comes through, and he's like,
what do you think? He came back with like aloha and shakas. You think if Simba didn't go through puberty and become like super menacing? Yeah, he was out. I know he was singing Hakuna Matata, but he was also doing push-ups, that kind. He was like,
you raise a good point.
know what I mean? He had to come back. Nala had to be kind of bigger and stronger, and they basically had to. If Scar wasn't a weaker, dying, atrophying uncle, who was making the hyenas doing all the work, so he was kind of getting skinny, weak, older, the knees buckle, he tore his ACL. I mean, and here comes Simba. He's like LeBron. He's coming back in his prime.
In the prime, not LeBron right now, but LeBron prime.
LeBron, like, when he beat Golden State 3-1. We're talking 2016 LeBron.
Yeah. We need LeBron to be up on the Mauna.
That's all I'm saying is like, look, I love the fact that we can win through our mind and through our memes and through our shakas and the Mauna symbol. I hope we win with keiki and kapuna and hula and songs and ipus and ukuleles, and I love it, and poetry.
Yes.
But I just say there's a part of me that like feels like we need to get LeBron Simba.
All right, so the part of me that sees that part of you is like, yo, that part of you chill the fuck out.
You're right.
We got this.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like
You're right.
go do your push-ups. Do your push-ups.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Do your training.
I get a little bit ghetto in me where like
it's mine. And that's what Kapu Aloha is all about. It's like, bro, we get it. Like do your push-ups, but don't like there's no room for the violence.
Right. No, so it's like that is the right answer.
Thank you.
The right answer is civil disobedience, but civil first. You know,
absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
and be willing to, like, even Martin Luther King Jr. They were all were like, hey, let's not fight with violence. It's nonviolence first, and let them, if they're gonna do their thing, we get arrested. We just, we do our thing. I hope it wins that way.
It's not 1893 anymore.
Right.
It's 2019.
Right.
So we need to use 2019 tactics and looking at the blueprint of what has been set. The tactics of the modern day civilization is not violence. Violence doesn't get you the change that you're looking for.
Right.
What gets you the change you're looking for is to let the injustices be seen by the world.
I totally
which
think
puts
that's
the
it.
pressure to make the change happen.
Right.
And it's working. Like,
and what's so funny, but even that is low key like threatening. Like, it's not violence, and you're not pulling the guns. But you're kind of like, look at all the people that might be on our side. So there's still like lots of manpower, human power, or whatever you call it. Yep. And those people have armies. We're just making big body though. When you, align yourself with like superpowers around the world, it's not that you don't appreciate that they have weapons, you know what I mean? So it's like, even the non-violent route, which I totally agree with, and I think we should do that way. It's like still like it helps when you align with other people. Like at the end of the day, right? It helps to have just a bunch of people who have armies, and hopefully nobody fights. Nobody does. But if you have a lot of people just like, standing around going, no treat the indigenous people like this, and then you get the, you know what I mean? And as opposed to if you just have like spears and then like cardboard signs, only TMT, it's just a little bit harder to fight. With that.
Yeah,
so
that's why digital media has changed the game.
Right. Like, I don't mind being Simba yelling, but I just want Mufasa in the back with the big roar. You know what I mean?
Perfect. That's
you know what I'm saying?
That's it. That's the jam.
But then no one had to fight. The hyenas just went, okay, I'm out.
Mufasa, we see you.
But it was the threat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, just part of me fantasizes of like, what would be that for us? And I do think you're right. You hit it on the head. It's like, we don't do anything violent or anything ourselves. Not like we had a chance. We're too small of a people for that. But if we align with the international interests, and I think that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, completely.
And I think your poem, coming back full circle to it, is that it's a weapon. It totally is a weapon. And the more people understand, in the way that I think your poem is helping us to do, I think the more weaponized we are in the international, stage. Mm-hmm. Which is the only way we can.
It's the only way you can win.
Yeah.
You just gotta make them. You just gotta get your point across and win through persistence and intellect.
Right. Well, I'm thinking of another movie where they did that. Like, if you shoot me, you're gonna have to shoot me in front of everybody. And then, like, what was that? The Beach. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay.
You remember that movie?
I do, but I don't.
Okay, so like that movie. Wow, it was an island.
Yeah.
Off the coast of Thailand. So Leonardo DiCaprio and his friends, they go to this place and it's secluded. And there's an indigenous people kind of, right? Because there's a people that only they're associated with that land and they do things their way. Uh-huh. And if you go there, let's say you need to go to the dentist, tough luck. Either if you leave for good, or if you stay, then you got to just get it yanked out.
Yeah.
So it's
remember
like
that scene.
It's a pretty savage like community. Well, Tilda Swinton is like the leader of that group, right? Uh-huh. So it's this fun little experiment because they're going there to be free, right? No, we're not. We're off the grid. We don't deal with like society and Bangkok and all the like the city life. And they would show it every once in a while when they had to go back for like supplies or whatever, right? Like one person would go and come back, but it was like this whole system, right?
Yep.
Well, and it ended up being like she ended up being kind of like, in order to keep their freedom, she had to enforce some pretty like shady rules.
Okay.
You know, so like, so Leonardo DiCaprio's character, he's finding this out. And towards the end of the movie, he realizes the only way I can like get these people out of the spell that Tilda Swinton's character had them all under, he had to show that she was willing to like kill him for it. You know, so the end of the movie, spoiler alert, is, I mean, it is 30 years ago.
Yeah. There's a statute of limitations.
You're way past it. But she basically, you know, shoots the gun and it clicked. There was no bullet, like the bullet wasn't in the chamber or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. It clicked. But just the fact that she was about to kill him to preserve this freedom did the trick. And so he didn't do anything except for he had to be willing for that to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That event, though, in front of everybody.
And everybody was like, whoa. This is too much for us. We're out.
Tilda.
they busted the triangle.
They totally did.
We're out of here.
But yeah, so
yes, I do remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, look, man, we're all joking over here. Kapu aloha, no violence. Stand down, chill out. I'm only talking about the frustrated instincts, though, which you got to watch Sticks and Stones on, on Netflix, Dave Chappelle's new one. But how are we gonna fix the problem of when you type in Kealoha into the Google, you're no longer number one anymore? That's got to be irritating.
It's for life.
That's crazy. You don't like. What can we do?
There's an easy way. I'm sure we can think of a scandal.
You think?
A scandal for you.
We gotta make up a scandal that overtakes the Catherine Kealoha scandal.
Yeah.
That's a hard scandal.
It's a hard one to
No,
beat.
I'm not even.
Hard scandal to beat.
I'm not even
He's a
lying.
creative guy.
I'm not even lying. A year ago, you type in Kealoha, it was like the first 3 links. I mean, it was all Kealoha. And then a year, just recently, you type in Kealoha, and now it's not even that. Now it used to be Kealoha and Kealoha Wong. Now it's Catherine Kealoha and Allison Lee Wong. A fake Wong is beating you.
I can't believe I'm losing to an imaginary character in a person's head.
This is blasphemy.
It's rugged.
Hey, you know what? When
rugged.
your movie comes out,
What are you
and
gonna
it's a
do?
huge success.
That's what it is.
Word.
Yeah,
That's what we gotta do.
Dude,
We gotta
come
blow
on.
up the story of everything,
Guys,
That's right.
so that we take over the top slot. I need to win back the Kealoha name.
Dude, so Ole TMT and Ole Allison Lee Wong and Catherine Kealoha. This has got to get back to the real. The OG.
It hurts.
Come on.
It hurts so much.
Join the revolution. The revolution not be televised because it's going to be live streamed on Amazon Prime.
Boom.
Boom.